I spent 2 weeks working on this first paid feature of my solo developed AI powered vocabulary building app. In the previous version, you can use my app to look up a new English word and practice using the word to construct a sentence and get AI powered contextual immediate feedback. And we use our custom spaced repetition algorithm to help you dictate when is the next best time for you to study this word again so that the learning truly sticks. However, in the previous version, I tried to abstract as much information as possible from the user so the user experience is simplified and magical to the point where when you enter your practice session, all you see are these two buttons. You can either click on this button to study a word that you've seen before, that you've worked on before, or you can click on this button to get served a new word that you've never seen before. And that's it. And looking at the numbers, you can see that there's clearly a queue logic going on, but I deliberately abstracted away this queue from the user to the point where you don't see what's coming after the word you're working on. All you can do is to click on the button and trust this magical user experience to dictate when to study which word. And I thought that was a great user experience until I got this feedback ticket filed by one of my users. And he is saying that in practice mode, I would like to be able to practice words in a random order rather than strictly alphabetical. And I draw to your attention, he said alphabetical. He thinks because I don't show the whole queue, right? So in his mind, in his intuition, he's thinking, okay, this queue is prepared in alphabetical order, but in reality we're using spaced repetition algorithm. But I was able to abstract the logic from him so well that he doesn't know how the queue was prepared. And he's saying that I think it would make the experience more varied. I won't come to expect what word is up next, which will be more demanding on my memory. I get it, but okay, one of our core feature is spaced repetition algorithm. If we're doing this in random order, it really defeats the purpose of the core application. However, I do think it's necessary for the user to be able to see the queue in its full picture. And that's one of the features that I really wanted myself. And thanks to this user feedback, it gave me the impetus to start working on it. And the process of building this queue customization feature, it went through multiple different iterations. And let me just show you guys one of the iterations where I tried to be fancy and implemented this drag and drop feature that allows the user to freely reorder or shuffle the order of the study queue by using drag and drop. So this is implemented with the Angular drag and drop CDK, which I had a lot of fun building this until I realized that, wait a minute, if we're allowing the user to do this, if we just completely disregard the ordering of the due date and we just let the user come up with whatever order by drag and dropping, then once again we're violating the core feature, which is one of our trademarks, the spaced repetition algorithm. We're completely disrespecting this core feature. So I had to scrap this iteration, even though it was very fun to use. And let me show you guys the finalized version of the queue customization that I came up with. So in the finalized version, under the two magical buttons that serves you either an old word or a new word, we get this interface for queue customization. And you got this little tooltip here telling you this is going to be a paid feature, but it's currently free during the beta testing version. And when you click on either the customization for the old word queue or the new word queue, you get this interface, which on the left hand side you have this complete timeline organized and sorted by the due dates. So the earliest, the words with the earliest due dates are at the front of the queue, and so on and so forth. And on the right hand side, you've got this control panel that you can sort your words by their respective mastery levels. So for example, if for whatever reason you decided you don't want to practice the words that are currently at mastery level 1, you can filter them out, and so on and so forth. And if you pay attention to the order of the study queue, so currently our first word is caught. So if we go back to practice, if we save and go back to practice, and you try to start studying the old words, evidently the first word is going to be caught. So the study queue is being persisted correctly. And at any given time, you can always go back to your practice session. Let's say that you decided, okay, that was a mistake. Like, it doesn't make sense for us to completely ignore master level 1 to 3. You can always toggle them back on. And your queue, the order of the queue will always be respected and correctly persisted. And now let's briefly talk about the engineering side of the implementation of this feature. So believe it or not, this feature, it might seem very simple and you may think that it's trivial to implement it, but it's actually quite involved. So this is the diagram that I came up with. So I have this review service, which is the service that is in charge of preparing the study queue for the user. And this is how I do it. So every time when the user logs in, we prepare this list of words, which is an array that serves as the single source of truth. And how we poll that is we look at the user's existing words and we look at the words that has the due dates that is before today, meaning as of today you should be studying this word. So we poll these words and we organize them and sort them by their due dates. And from there we go to the queue customization interface, which I already shown you guys. You can access it by click on either of these two buttons to customize the queue for the appropriate word type. And from there, we go through this filter by master level filter control, which is this thing. We have the slide controls for master level 1 to 5. And every time you click on saving this filter, we're going to run this list of words through this filter, and the end result is the actual study queue that the user will be seeing for the session. And because we have the single source of truth here, which we do not touch, we're sure that every time the user changes his mind and decides to go back to tinker with the filters, we're not losing any words because we're not overriding this list every time when the user plays with this filtering control. So that was the gist of the queue customization feature that I've been working on. Like I said, it's going to be the first paid feature for WordForge. And the next focus, now that we've wrapped up the queue customization feature, I'm going to go back to working on the gamification system for WordForge so that I can have better user retention. On that front, I've created these two armor sets for the Red Panda Blacksmith mascot. We have this Yamata no Orochi inspired armor and this White Tiger armor set. So I've been working on creating the artworks for the gamification system, and so that's what I've been working on. If you found this series to be interesting, stay tuned for future updates for the gamification system, and please go and check out wordforge.tech. With that said, I'll see all of you in the next episode of Dev Logs. See ya.